Even though they had prepared for the Clone Wars, the Separatists were now on the back foot. As the Republic scored several major victories, it was becoming apparent that this was turning into a war of resources, forcing the CIS to turn their sights once more towards a familiar front. Welcome to the Wizards and Warriors channel. We're glad to have you with us on our next installment in the Star Wars universe. So, as is our custom, we invite you to get comfortable, grab any snacks and beverages, and invite your favourite Twi'lek friend as we recount the tale of the Battle of Ryloth. But there are other tales to tell of today, for this video is sponsored by Tales of Fablecraft. This is a new virtual tabletop RPG that puts a big focus on making life easy for game masters and players alike. It's similar to Dungeons & Dragons, with easy-to-learn mechanics, quick preparation times for game masters, and all the tools for seeing and speaking with players built into the program. It's a silver bullet solution for remote tabletop gaming groups, and it's free to play. You can bring your own adventures to the table, or use their pre-written quests and character builds to get started with something right away. And needless to say, it's all a smooth and intuitive experience with great customization options crafted by tabletop role-playing veterans. A new professionally made adventure has just been released, Object of My Affection. Presented by Felicia Day and featuring an all-star cast, you'll need to uncover the secrets of a carnival where not all is as it seems. You can get Tales of Fablecraft on PC and Mac, iPad and Android versions will be coming soon, and you can cross-play between different versions. So gather up your party for some beautiful, flashy and easy-to-use tabletop adventuring. Check it out at our link in the description. Having lost their foothold on the Corellian run with the capture of Geonosis and the defeat of their invasion force at Christophsis, the Separatists were eager to re-establish access to the critical hyperlane, a goal the Republic was equally interested in stymieing. An opportunity arose as the Malevolence began harassing the Republic in the Mid-Rim. Though these attacks were primarily intended to test the new superweapon, this also likely served as a distraction for a new attempt to break into the Corellian run, an effort which was now led by the head of the Techno-Union, Wat Tambor. Ryloth itself is not a planet rich in natural resources important for the war effort, like the crystals of Christophsis or the minerals of Shu-Torun. Its use was instead the potential for slave enterprises. Using them to mine one plentiful natural resource, Ryloth did have spice. The Twi'leks found themselves more often than not in bondage, exacerbated by the constant political infighting and civil wars that plagued their society. Ryloth also had very little in terms of industry, at least compared to other planets, making defending themselves against those looking to exploit them nearly impossible. The Battle of Ryloth is something of a misnomer, as most of this universe's battles are, as it was a long campaign spanning months rather than a single set battle. Tambor led the planetary invasion himself, leaving Captain Ma Tuk in command of the blockade fleet. Given the state of the planetary defences, the Separatists were easily able to establish a foothold on the planet, sending bombing runs to clear the way. Once they landed, they began to push to the major settlements. The defence of Ryloth was led by freedom fighter Cham Syndulla, who had become a rallying point for his people. He was soon joined by Jedi General Imogun Di, who arrived with a small relief force under Admiral Dao. These forces weren't going to be enough to stop the invasion, but it was hoped that they would be able to delay the enemy until a proper force could be sent. Time progressed with no reinforcements in sight, however, and the beleaguered defenders could only do so much. The forces on the planet were eventually cut off from orbital support as Admiral Dao's fleet was destroyed, and they were backed into the canyons of Ryloth. Di and his clones made a desperate last stand to allow Syndulla and the other Twi'leks to escape the encirclement through the canyon cave system. This cost Imogun Di and his troops their lives, but the Twi'leks would live to fight on. Aside from a trio of Pelter-class frigates bringing supplies to the Twi'leks, the Republic could send no more, as even though they would score a victory at the Khalida Nebula with the destruction of the Malevolence, the Republic was hard-pressed to cover every important front. The planet Khorm was on one such front, where Anakin Skywalker would eventually lead the Republic to victory. General Grievous soon reappeared after the Khalida embarrassment, attempting to restore his reputation by attacking the high-profile target of Kamino, the heart of the clone army. But his attack upon the Rishi Moon outpost, set up to help warn the crucial cloners of any encroachment, failed due to the exemplary performance of 3 clones. The Separatists had rigged the station to keep broadcasting an all-clear signal, which the clones managed to disable before sending a warning to the Republic. Their prompt response forced Grievous to retreat in the face of superior firepower. But worse things were coming from elsewhere, as Republic fleets were being ambushed and wiped out due to what the Republic deduced was a listening post that intercepted and decoded their messages. This was slowly eroding their presence in the Outer Rim, as the Separatists were taking advantage of the intercepted intel, helping them to establish blockades of the pro-Republic planets around the Rim. Skywalker was recalled and given a task force to go to the vital planet of Bothawi, as the Republic had learned Grievous was to assault that planet next. They had hopes of capturing the Supreme Commander and possibly learning the listening station's whereabouts in the process. Grievous ambushed Skywalker, but was repulsed and escaped to the station. In what would turn out to be a stroke of luck for the Republic, Skywalker had lost his astromech R2-D2 during the fight. Grievous had captured it, bringing it to the secret listening post long sought by the Republic, known as Skytop Station. R2-D2 was able to broadcast a distress beacon, and Skywalker arrived at the station with a small force, recovering the droid and destroying the station, thereby ending the Separatist offensive in the region. Despite a setback in the Battle of Quell, which destroyed Isla Secura's battle group, the Republic had stabilized the front and sent a force to finally relieve Ryloth. At the vanguard of the Republic fleet, with the Venator-class ships Defender, Redeemer and Resolute, Skywalker was ordered to break the blockade of the planet to make way for the main force under Jedi Generals Kenobi and Windu aboard several Acclamator-class ships. Skywalker arrived at Ryloth to see the blockade, consisting of one Lucrehulk-class droid control ship, the Procurer, and two Munificent-class frigates under Captain Mard Tuk. He decided to give command of Blue Squadron to his Padawan Ashoka Tano, having her make an attack run on the battleship while his force maintained their distance. Tano was able to advance and break their fighter line, but as she continued to the capital ships, 4 more Munificents emerged from hyperspace and deployed additional Vulture droid fighters. Admiral Yularen, aware of the danger, ordered Tano to return to the fleet, but she believed her squadron could still finish their assault. Yularen's fears would prove correct, as not only was her squad losing members, but the Vultures made their own runs on the Venators. Tano, eager to continue the offensive, eventually relented under Skywalker's persistent demands. Tano made it back to the Republic's ships as they prepared to retreat, but had lost most of her squad. Having failed to break the blockade, and with the Redeemer destroyed and the Defender heavily damaged, Skywalker informed Kenobi and Windu of their dire situation. They discussed postponing the invasion, but Skywalker reassured them that he would break the blockade by the time the landing force arrived. Skywalker ordered the Defender evacuated to his flagship, Resolute, as Defender was too badly damaged to fight again. After doing so, he took direct command of the Defender, leaving Captain Rex and Tano to command the Resolute as he put a daring plan to break the blockade into action. Skywalker arrived back at the blockade aboard Defender and started moving towards the Lucrehulk, opening comms and offering the surrender of himself and the ship, should Tuk allow for humanitarian relief to Ryloth. This bought Skywalker time to close the distance, as Tuk considered and ultimately rejected the offer, taking extreme offense as scans showed Anakin was the only one aboard. But by this time, Tuk also realized the danger he was in. Anakin and the Defender intended to ram the Lucrehulk. He ordered the fleet to open fire on Defender, but the distance had already been closed, and Skywalker jettisoned to safety as the damaged Venator crashed into the battleship, destroying it. With the flagship destroyed and the chain of command interrupted, Tano arrived aboard the Resolute and charged the blockade before spinning the ship 90 degrees on its axis, turning its bridge away from the Separatist fleet. The droids, unsure of what to do without Captain Tuk, launched a full assault, with all Munificents closing in to attack what appears to be a vulnerable enemy. They were wrong. As the Munificents closed in, several fighter and bomber squadrons, led by Tano, hoping to redeem herself for her reckless actions earlier, launched from the dorsal hangar of the Resolute, protected by the ship's own mass from Separatist fire. They came around from under and above the ship and began peppering the CIS fleet, taking out ship after ship. This would come to be known as the Mag-Sabel maneuver. Kenobi and Windu arrived just as they were finishing the fleet off, and requested permission to land, which Tano gave, beginning the liberation of Ryloth. They lowered into the atmosphere of the planet and quickly identified the city of Nabat as a suitable landing site to begin their operations, but the site was fortified by hundreds of droids, as well as several proton cannons that stopped the acclamators from approaching close enough to engage in orbital bombardment. Windu and Commander Pons took command of the fleet, while Kenobi and Commander Cody landed on the outskirts of the city with the troopers of Ghost Company, making their way into the city after overcoming the outer defenses. They discovered that the droids were using Twi'lek prisoners as living shields around the guns, so Kenobi determined that these would have to be rescued first. Though they had a difficult time initially, they eventually came upon a lone Twi'lek girl whom they rescued. She guided them to a tunnel system, which they used to sneak within the perimeter of the guns and commandeered one, turning it on the others, destroying them and freeing the prisoners. With the defensive cannons out of the way, Kenobi gave the go-ahead for Windu to land, as he and his company rallied with the Twi'leks and disposed of the remaining droids. With the landing zone now secure, the generals split their advance. Kenobi took his forces to secure the Jixuan Desert as well as liberate any villages within range of this objective, while Windu took command of the 91st Mobile Recon Corps and marched towards the planet's capital of Lesu, where Tambor, the recently made Emir of Ryloth, was headquartered. The road to Lesu led through a cliffside road, which the Separatists used to their advantage, ambushing Windu with several AATs on the opposite side of the gorge from the road, blasting at his forces as they advanced and knocking out 3 of his ATTE walkers before Lightning Squadron could destroy them. Having traversed the last major obstacle to the city, the generals held a conference with Chancellor Palpatine and Ryloth's Senator Orn Freyt Tar to give an update on their positions. Kenobi had secured the Jixuan Desert and, by extension, the southern hemisphere of the planet. Skywalker had routed what was left of the Separatist blockade, and the path to Lesu was open due to Tambor pulling the majority of his forces back to the capital. Taking Lesu, however, was easier said than done. The city was not only garrisoned by Tambor, but was itself a fortress situated on a rock within a seemingly bottomless chasm. The only way across was an energy bridge, which could only be controlled from the opposite side, and Windu was certain he couldn't take it with the forces available to him. To this end, Windu informed his allies of his decision to seek out Cham Syndulla, who could bolster his ranks enough to assault the city. Senator Tar objected on the grounds of Syndulla being a political rival, but Windu dismissed this and sought him out anyway. In Lesu, Tambor's tactical droid updated Dooku on the situation, leaving him displeased with the newly appointed Emir for having done a pitiful job protecting our investment on Ryloth, ordering him to plunder the valuables of the planet and evacuate before destroying the city and any villages he could reach with his hyena bombers, hoping to use the devastation to the CIS's political advantage to demonstrate the cost of a Republic victory. Windu eventually found Syndulla, but he was reluctant to assist, seeing aiding the Republic as trading one occupier for another. Commander Pons' report to Windu of the firebombing against civilian targets by the CIS led Syndulla to agree to meet with Tar and come to an agreement for the sake of their people. With Syndulla on Windu's side, he advanced on Lesu, while Skywalker was tasked with hunting down the bombers. This was complicated due to the reduced number of fighters available to him, having few left after the space battle. Windu and Syndulla were still not aware of how to cross the bridge and gain control of it, and Tambor had forced the residents of the city outside to deter his foes from firing. The answer soon revealed itself as Tambor's greed came to be his undoing. Even though he should have evacuated the city by now, he believed the Republic could never reach him within the city, and he refused to leave while there were still riches to be plundered from the planet. The last of the convoys, filled with stolen goods, was on its final approach to the city when Windu and 2 troopers boarded. They were halfway across the bridge before they were detected by sensors, at which point they burst from cover. Syndulla ordered a charge towards the city, as Windu utilized his force abilities to get his strike team safely the rest of the way across. Windu was able to hold the first city gate while the troopers made their way into the bridge power station, reactivating it and allowing for their forces to cross and attack in force, causing a general collapse of the separatist defense. Tambor tried to flee, but his ship was stolen by his tactical droid and Windu took him into custody. Tambor believed they would both die, as CIS hyena bombers descended from above on the tactical droid's orders, but Skywalker and Tano arrived in time to destroy these, saving the city and ending the prolonged battle. With the loss of Ryloth and its Emir, the Separatists had once again been driven out of the Corellian-run hyperlane. The battle would serve as a blueprint for the Republic to capture future planets, as the success of Windu, using few clones and mostly native irregulars, would be replicated to capture worlds the Republic deemed of insufficient value to put their full resources into controlling. The battle was also a wake-up call to many, as its long, protracted nature would become a more than common occurrence before the war's end. And with the Battle of Ryloth bringing an end to the first year of the war, the outcome was far from certain. If you want to see more episodes, make sure to subscribe and press the bell button. Please consider liking, subscribing, commenting and sharing. It helps immensely. Our videos would be impossible without our kind patrons and YouTube channel members, whose ranks you can join via the links in the description to know our schedule, get early access to our videos, access our Discord, and much more. This is the Wizard and Warriors channel, and we will catch you on the next one.